The Thelari were a gentle race, scholars, healers, diplomats. Their crystalline cities shimmered beneath the twin suns of Thale, and their society had flourished in peace for over 1,000 years. War was a forgotten concept, a word relegated to historical texts and cautionary fables. So when the sky cracked open and the Zyrith descended, cold, silent, merciless, they were unprepared. The attack came without warning. Spiked black machines poured from rifts in space, cutting through planetary shields like paper. Thelari defense platforms, few and ceremonial, were obliterated in minutes. Their cities crumbled beneath kinetic strikes. Their pleas to the Galactic Council were met with delay, bureaucracy, and fear. The Council remembered the Zyrith. And they remembered the price of defiance. Then, someone, no one knows who, retransmitted the Thelari SOS across the Terran frequency band. That was all it took. On Earth, deep beneath the Andes, a vault flickered to life. Ancient systems powered up for the first time in 73 years. In the silence, AI minds stirred. Battle simulations ran in nanoseconds. Quantum communication relays reconnected to the dormant Terran defense network. Within an hour, 147 warships lifted from shadow docks on Luna and Titan. Within 4 hours, the 1st, 3rd, and 9th Terran fleets had been recalled from stasis. By the next Earth rotation, Project Hammerfall, the last resort doctrine of overwhelming force, was activated. The galaxy watched in muted terror. When the Terran armada arrived in Thelari space, they blotted out the stars. The Zyrith, in all their cold precision, paused, for the first time in their programmed existence. They scanned the human fleet, hulls crafted from neutron-forged alloys, weapons systems that burned through subspace, carriers large enough to hold entire moons in orbit. And at the front, the TDS Vengeance of Dawn, the dreadnought that had silenced the HFY War. No warning was given. No ultimatums offered. The human war fleet opened fire. 1,000 sunbright flashes lit up the void as Terran railguns fired slugs at relativistic speeds, cutting Zyrith destroyers in half. Arc lances pierced enemy hulls, carving through armor like it was vapor. Terran AI pilots danced between enemy salvos, executing precision strikes that turned entire formations into debris fields. Zyrith hivecores tried to adapt, but the humans had evolved past predictable warfare. Their weapons shifted mid-fight. Their drones outnumbered stars. Their orbital strikes shattered moons to create kinetic bombardment fields. Human boarding teams, clad in power armor that throbbed with nuclear hearts, entered Zyrith ships and tore through metal and machine alike. The battle was over in 43 minutes. On the surface of Thale, the few surviving Thelari emerged from their shelters, blinking through ash and falling debris. They expected to see machines standing over their cities. Instead, they saw humans. Terran medics, in sealed armor, tending to the wounded. Engineers deploying nanoforges to stabilize collapsing structures. Drones rebuilding shattered roads. And soldiers, dozens of them, standing silently at attention, watching the skies. The Thelari speaker, trembling, approached one of the Terran commanders. She expected coldness, or maybe indifference. Instead, the human knelt and said simply, "We heard you." She wept. Back on the Galactic Council station, panic spread like a virus. For decades, Earth had abided by the Treaty of Sol, an agreement that declared humanity would never again deploy full-scale military force without Council approval. The memory of the scouring of Raxus, when a human warfleet turned an entire pirate confederacy into molten slag in under an hour, had haunted the stars for generations. And yet, without hesitation, without permission, they had acted. Some counselors cried outrage. Others whispered relief. The Zyrith had been a shadow on all their worlds. Only the humans had dared to strike them head-on. The Thelari envoy addressed the council with shaking hands. Her voice, though small, silenced the chamber. If the hammer of Earth had not fallen, we would be dust. In orbit around Thale, Admiral Riker stood aboard the Vengeance of Dawn, watching the stars. A younger officer approached. "Sir, the council demands an explanation." Riker didn't flinch. "Let them demand." "But, we broke the treaty." Riker turned slowly. Son, when a child screams in the dark, do you check with your neighbors before kicking down the door? The officer hesitated. No, sir. That's what makes us Deathworlders. We didn't evolve in peace. We evolved with monsters. And we became monsters ourselves to protect what mattered. The Admiral walked to the observation deck. We stayed quiet for 70 years. The galaxy thought we grew soft. They forgot who we are. He stared into the stars. Now they remember. In the following weeks, the galaxy buzzed with conflicting voices. Some praised the humans as saviors. Others decried them as warmongers. A few races petitioned for Terran protectorates. The council called emergency sessions. Treaties were re-examined. Some members even called for sanctions. But no one dared raise a fleet against Earth. Because the message had been sent, loud and clear. If you call for help, the Deathworlders will come. And if you are their enemy, God help you. The SOS was faint, barely a whisper carried across the stars on an old civilian frequency band. Most ignored it. Some didn't even register it. But a single human scout ship, the Astra Nomad, drifting near the edge of charted space, picked it up. Lieutenant Kara Idris, bored and running long-range scans, almost dismissed the signal as noise. But as the computer translated the raw pulses, the message crystallized on her display. To any listening, our skies are burning. We have no weapons. No time. Please, help us. The sender was a small, isolated species called the Ilari. Peaceful. Agrarian. Not even spacefaring until 3 generations ago. And now they were being eradicated. Kara sent the signal to Earth Command. She expected bureaucracy. Protocols. Delay. She got silence. For 6 hours. Then, every Terran relay across known space flashed one simple message: we heard you. The galaxy had forgotten what it meant for humanity to move. The Deathworlders, so named because Earth was one of the most hostile Class V planets ever recorded, had once been the galaxy's nightmare. No other race had been so adaptive, so ruthless when threatened. After the Razor Wars, they had gone quiet, agreeing to limit their military actions and withdraw from interstellar policing. Now, that silence shattered. First came the drones, autonomous scouts leaping into Ilari space on quantum slipstream drives. They streamed visuals of burning forests, orbital bombardments, and cities reduced to glass. Then came the message from Earth. We do not ask permission. We do not send diplomats. We send fire. The Ilari saw it first. Their attackers, raiders from a nomadic warrior empire called the Korgax, had encircled their last continent. Cities smoldered. Hope had fled. And then the sky changed. One by one, massive points of light formed overhead. Not suns. Not comets. Ships. Human warships, colossal, obsidian gray, angular, efficient. Their hulls were marked with names like End of Silence, Just Cause, and Deliverance Unbound. Each bore scars from wars long past. The largest, a mobile command dreadnought, broadcast a single message on open bands. This world is under Terran protection. Withdraw or be annihilated. The Korgax laughed. Until the Terran fleet opened fire. It wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration. Human kinetic lances struck from orbit with pinpoint precision, piercing Korgax carriers like molten spears. Swarms of drone fighters burst forth in elegant formations, dancing between defense systems, striking engines, weapons bays, and reactors with surgical accuracy. On the ground, Korgax troops, hulking brutes bred for war, were met by black-armored Terran infantry. Terran soldiers didn't roar or chant. They moved silently, coordinated through neural links. Their armor enhanced reflexes. Their rifles calibrated in real time to atmospheric and enemy conditions. The Korgax fought like warriors. The humans fought like machines wrapped in flesh. In 72 minutes, the entire Korgax fleet was scrap. On the ground, Ilari survivors emerged from bunkers. Some fell to their knees at the sight of the human soldiers, others simply wept. A child approached one soldier and tugged his gauntlet. "Are you angels?" The human knelt. His voice came through the translator, soft, almost unsure. "No. Just humans. You called. We came." The Galactic Council, watching the long-range intercepts, was thrown into chaos. Earth hadn't asked for permission. Again. The Treaty of Antares, signed by Terran diplomats decades ago, restricted independent military action in Council space. Violating it meant sanctions, isolation, war. But no one spoke of enforcement. Because while the Council debated, the humans had acted. They hadn't sent a delegation. They hadn't opened trade talks. They hadn't even asked who the Ilari were. They had simply heard a scream and answered it. With fire. In the days that followed, the Terran fleet didn't leave. They deployed orbital defenses. Built relay satellites. Stabilized infrastructure. Left supplies. When asked why, Admiral Vashti Singh, commander of the Terran Third Fleet, gave a rare interview. "Our history is built on survival. We know what it's like to scream and be ignored. That's not going to happen anymore. Not while we have ships in the sky." When the Council tried to reach her, she didn't respond. Elsewhere, species once content to mock humanity's past militarism began to reconsider. Systems on the fringe quietly requested Terran advisors. Pirate groups fled their old haunts. Even rogue AI factions rerouted away from Earth-affiliated systems. And deep in the darkness, unknown forces watched. Not with fear, but with curiosity. What would humans do if the screams never stopped? On Ilari Prime, beneath newly rebuilt domes, a mural was painted. It showed a young Ilari child looking up, reaching toward the stars. Above, the shape of a massive Terran ship cast a long shadow across the world, but within the shadow, the child stood unharmed. Beneath it, carved in Ilari script and translated for all to read. "They heard us." And the stars burned in answer. The Council had banned planetary militarization for a reason. After the Great Galactic Wars, peace was hard-won and fragile. Armies were dismantled. Dreadnoughts were decommissioned. The core worlds embraced diplomacy and trade. The outer colonies, left with little protection, were told, "The Council will provide." But when the Dravari fleet descended on the frontier colony of Lorith Prime, burning farms, enslaving civilians, turning cities into graveyards, the Council responded with a strongly worded resolution, and nothing else. So Lorith broke the law. They called Earth. And Earth answered. The Deathworld doctrine was not publicly known. It was not debated, voted on, or shared. It was a promise etched into Terran military code after the Scourge conflict: any species requesting sanctuary under Terran defense shall receive it, without hesitation, without negotiation, without mercy to the aggressor. One call from Lorith Prime triggered it. Within hours, silent launch codes spread across Earth's defense grid. Orbital shipyards began to move. Quantum drives reactivated. AIs embedded in ancient systems whispered across battlenets. The Terran fleets hadn't deployed in full in nearly a century. Until now. The first sign came when a Dravari cruiser, orbiting Lorith Prime, picked up a gravitational anomaly followed by a rupture in local space. One ship emerged. Not large. Not threatening in appearance. It bore no flags. Its ID tag was simple: TSS Forward Resolve. The Dravari hailed it with laughter, broadcasting threats across civilian channels. The Resolve responded with silence. Then it fired a single beam that cut the Dravari cruiser clean in half, from engine to bridge. Moments later, the rest of the Terran fleet arrived. They didn't come in formation. They didn't come in showy patterns. They fell out of slipspace like iron rain, hundreds of warships, carriers, cruisers, and corvettes. Their hulls were black, marked only by serial numbers and unit insignia. Their engines pulsed with a low, ominous hum. The largest vessel, the TSS Wrath Incarnate, eclipsed the moon of Lorith itself. Aboard it, Admiral Helena Voss stood silently at the viewing deck. She wore no ceremonial uniform, just battle gear. Her voice, carried by neural link to every ship in the fleet, was calm. The aggressors have broken sanctuary. The Deathworld doctrine is in effect. Proceed. And the sky burned. Lorith Prime watched in stunned awe. The Terran fleet moved like a predator unleashed, silent, efficient, unstoppable. Orbital strike pods dropped at terminal velocity, opening midair to release mechs the size of buildings. Terran infantry, genetically enhanced, cyber-linked, equipped with armor systems that responded faster than thought, waged war like it was a sacred duty. Dravari weapons barely scratched them. Where the Dravari marched in numbers, humans struck from above. Where they fortified, humans tunneled beneath. Where they ran, humans followed. No quarter was given. Because none had been offered to Lorith. The council convened in emergency session. They shouted. They argued. Some demanded sanctions against Earth. Others demanded Earth take control of border security entirely. Fear and politics twisted together in a chorus of confusion. The Lorithan representative arrived late, still bloodstained, eyes hollow. She said one thing. You told us to wait. They didn't. Silence fell. Because across every screen, every relay, every transmission, Terran warships hovered above Lorith Prime like silent gods of vengeance. Cities once smoldering were now shielded. Supply lines were restored. Children slept under the red glow of orbital cannons pointed at the void. When the last Dravari ship fled the system, chased by Terran fighters until its engines failed, Admiral Voss sent one final broadcast to the galaxy. Her face appeared stern, gray-haired, eyes like steel. To those who prey on the weak, run. To those who wait for permission to defend the innocent, move. To those who ask what gives us the right. She leaned forward. We are Deathworlders. We don't need permission. We just need a reason. In the weeks that followed, things changed. Worlds once afraid to speak out against raiders began transmitting messages directly to Terran space. Some called it a new empire. Others called it the return of old nightmares. But the people on Lorith? They had only one name for it. Justice. And it had come not with treaties or talks, but with thunder. They sent the message because they had no choice. The Volari were a species of dreamers, builders of art, not weapons. For centuries, they had remained quiet observers in the galactic order, hiding behind neutrality and hope. But hope was a poor shield against genocide. The enemy called themselves the Kravix Dominion. They came without warning, swarming from the galactic rim, leaving nothing but scorched worlds and silence. The Volari tried to flee. They tried to negotiate. They even tried to beg. None of it mattered. So, in desperation, they sent a signal on an ancient, forbidden frequency, one that had not been used since the old wars. It was only 3 words. Earth. Help us. The message crossed space and time. Through council surveillance, through comms blocks, through layers of encryption and forgotten protocol, it reached a bunker buried beneath Mars, a Terran failsafe known only to a few. And something ancient woke up. A single command was executed, buried in old code. Full strategic deployment, code, Black Sun. All across the Sol system, humanity's true arsenal came online. Admiral Marcus Thorne stood aboard the TSS Arkspear, the first of Earth's Titan-class dreadnoughts to breach atmosphere in 87 years. Its engines pulsed with antimatter veins. Its hull bore symbols not seen since the Outer Rim conquests. Around it, hundreds of ships formed, silent, ready. Thorne's face was grim. We answer this, and we don't stop halfway. The Terran president responded only once. They asked. You go. The Kravix had no idea what they'd triggered. When the Terran fleet arrived in Volari space, it appeared as a curtain of fire splitting open the stars. Human carriers deployed swarms of hunter-killers faster than light. Stealth corvettes warped behind Kravix lines, turning command ships into silence. Planets under siege were suddenly shadowed by vessels so large they eclipsed entire cities. The arc spear fired once. The Kravix moon base ceased to exist. On the surface of Valari Prime, refugees gazed upward. Their skies, once filled with smoke and falling debris, now held silent sentinels of polished steel. Human drop pods rained from orbit, black, spiked, burning like meteors. Out of them came soldiers in armor powered by microreactors, silent and unstoppable. They moved without fear. Their orders were not to push back. Their orders were, eradicate threat completely. A Kravix fleet of nearly 1,000 ships scrambled to regroup. They expected delay. They expected politics. What they got was obliteration. Terran AIs outmaneuvered them before their fleets finished aligning. Rail lances punctured command ships in perfect unison. Drone mines folded space itself, turning retreat paths into fusion traps. One by one, the Kravix armada fell silent, blind, and broken. In 19 hours, the war ended. Not with negotiation. Not with surrender. With fire. Back on Valari Prime, High Speaker Elin VA stood beneath the ruins of her capital, watching human soldiers deploy portable field hospitals, atmospheric filters, and food generators. She approached Admiral Thorne. Her eyes trembled. You came. Thorne nodded once. You asked. She hesitated. And, the cost? Thorne looked up, at the looming Terran ships. The Kravix paid the first price. Earth will pay the second. The third will be up to the galaxy. In the Galactic Council chambers, the reaction was chaos. Treaties were shattered. Laws violated. Earth had deployed full war fleets without approval again. And yet, the Kravix were gone. Entire sectors liberated. Billions saved. Some called it heroism. Others called it the beginning of Terran dominance. But no one dared retaliate. Because every world had heard the message Earth had broadcast before leaving Valari space. To those who cry for help, speak without fear. To those who threaten the helpless, sleep with one eye on the stars. Earth listens now. And so, the galaxy remembered what it cost to whisper for help into the dark. The Valari were saved. The Kravix were extinguished. And Earth had awakened.